Hey y'all, welcome to the show, and like I said in the previous video, in this video I'm going to explain why I prefer PlayStation to Xbox, and why I think that the Xbox Series X won't sell very well. Okay, point number one, Sony and PlayStation have far more exclusive games, and not only do they have more exclusive content, but their exclusive content is incredibly high quality. Look at um, God of War, Gran Turismo, Little Big Planet, Uncharted, Devil May Cry, and so many other games. There's a lot of games available, and it's just they have so much larger of an exclusive collection, and their exclusive games are high quality. Xbox, on the other hand, doesn't actually have any exclusive games whatsoever, because every game that is available for Xbox is also available on PC, on Windows 10. Now, for Windows users, that's really great, and for Microsoft fans, that's actually awesome. It's great. Multi-plat games are awesome. It's great that you have games on multiple platforms. But what you're doing by not having any games be exclusive to the Xbox Series X, and very few exclusive to the Xbox One, what you're doing is you're alienating your fans. So basically you're going to split up your gamers between your PC and your console. So say half your gamers are going to choose PC rather than console, and you can play on a PC with an Xbox controller. So there's really no reason whatsoever to buy an Xbox Series X or an Xbox One separate from a PC unless you have this weird kink for the Kinect. Point number two, PlayStation has more exclusive features in addition to games. PlayStation VR is by far the most notable example. There are countless games available for PSVR, and Microsoft, well, they do have the Kinect. They don't have anything close to a VR system. Now, obviously it's an extension, right? So it costs about an additional $150 or so, but that is better than having to buy an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive completely separate from a game console, right? It saves you hundreds of dollars to buy a PSVR over an Oculus or an HTC, and it's really good quality for the money that you pay. So PSVR and the Xbox Kinect simply can't compete with the PSVR. Another thing, while it's not necessarily accurate now, but another reason, at least over the past few years, PlayStation has been dominating Xbox in the console sales, is because the original PS4 as well as the PS4 Slim are more powerful than their Xbox alternatives. They run games better, and yet they're cheaper. Now, the exception didn't come until 2017 when the Xbox One X was released. I think it was 2017. And the PS4 Pro was released more than a year before the Xbox One X. So PS4 Pro buyers got way ahead of Microsoft in the market there. But yes, now the Xbox One X is both more powerful and cheaper than the PS4 Pro. So I suppose that the argument that Sony is better because it's cheaper and it's of higher quality is now null and void. But if you don't have the money to cough up a Pro, your Slim and your standard models are still going to be cheaper than your Slim, like your Xbox One Basic and your Xbox One S. Now, another reason, at least since 2013, that Sony has dominated Xbox on the console market is because, um, well, like I said earlier, higher quality console for cheaper. But another thing is, one of the main reasons Xbox sold their console for $100 more expensive, more than the original PS4 and the PS4 Slim, was because it came bundled with the Kinect. And one thing that consumers really didn't like was the fact that they couldn't buy an option without the Kinect. When the Xbox One first came out, you had to buy the Kinect with it, and that jacked up the price. If they had from launch an Xbox One without the Kinect still could have sold decently well, but they could have sold way, way more consoles in way less time that way. Another problem Microsoft faced, and Sony actually mocked them in their commercials for this, was the fact that they put restrictions on buying and selling used games, and for a certain period of time on the Xbox One, you were actually required. You actually had to have internet in order to play Xbox One games, which is dumb, and consumers didn't like that either. So there's another reason why Sony has dominated Xbox in the market. And Sony, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of a Sony pony, but you gotta give it to Sony, to PlayStation, right? They are number one, number two, number four, number five on home console sales totals. They are the number one highest selling console producer in the world, and have been for quite some time. Just for those of you who don't know, the PS2 is number one with over 100, and I believe it was 150 some million units sold. It was a crazy high number. The PS4 is number two with over 100 million, in fact going on 110 million units. The PS1 is number three with also over 100 million units. Number four is the Wii, and number five is the PlayStation 3. Of course, at number six is the Xbox 360. And during the seventh generation of consoles, Microsoft was way ahead of PlayStation because Sony had made a number of the same mistakes that Microsoft are making this generation. Sony had an incredibly powerful console that was also a Blu-ray generator, and they were overconfident essentially because they didn't think they even had competition. But remember, the original Xbox only sold 30 million units, while the PlayStation 2 sold over 150 million. So Sony got cocky. They decided to put the highest quality console, super powerful processor in the first generation, and they were selling it for $500, which was at the time way more expensive than the other consoles. And they were actually losing money with every console that they sold, because to produce one of these extremely powerful PS3s, it costed $800. So they were losing a net of $300 with every console that they sold. So Sony in 2006 was in a bit of a pickle, right? But then of course the 360 came along. All of the launch or the vast majority of launch 360s had this glitch called the red ring of death, right? You've probably seen a picture of it somewhere with the circle and the dot, and it's red. You know what an Xbox 360 button looks like. Think of how it's green. Instead of green, it was red, and it was titled the red ring of death because it's a malfunction in it's a malfunction with your console. They did end up replacing all of the consoles that had the red ring of death, but that was another problem that Microsoft faced. And so yeah, Sony eventually surpassed Microsoft in sales for the PlayStation 3. They more almost tripled sales for the PlayStation 4 compared to the Xbox One. They the PS1 didn't even have any competition from them. The only competition to the PlayStation 1 was the Super Nintendo, and the Super Nintendo it was only a 16, no, it might have been 64-bit, something like that, right? It wasn't a 3D console. So then Nintendo, not long after the PlayStation 1 was released the Nintendo 64, which was also an amazing console, and it was 3D, but it didn't sell nearly as well as the PlayStation 1 either. And Nintendo then launched the GameCube, and the GameCube, at least it sold better than the original Xbox, but it didn't sell very well either. And then they launched the Wii, which was their super success. It got fourth. The Wii U was a colossal failure, like the PlayStation Vita was. I personally, I have a Vita and I had a PSP. I love the Vita and I love the PSP. I'm so sad that the Vita didn't sell as well as the PSP, but I can understand why. The Vita was a failure because not a lot of people can afford to pay $60 for a game, and not a lot of people are going to pay $60 for a game and $200 for a console that only plays mobile, right? That and marketing for it was kind of terrible. So there's obvious reasons why it failed. Same for the Wii U. A lot of people just thought the Wii U was an extension for the original Wii. And another failure that Nintendo had was the Wii Mini, which was basically a Wii, but it was red and it couldn't connect to the internet. But now the Wii can't connect to the internet either, so there's really no difference between a Wii and a Wii Mini. The Wii Mini is pretty much just for collectors. It's pretty dang lame. So yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts. Those are also kind of the facts why Sony has been dominating the market, why Xbox is or sorry, why PlayStation is dominating, especially compared to Xbox, and Nintendo's not far behind. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. It's now 12 minutes, so like, comment, share, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll produce more content like this. Bye!